Hi, it's Rupert, and when I get done with a full day of smoking crack and drinking my own urine, I like to relax by listening to The Dark City, right here on the one and only Internet. Perhaps you've heard of it.
G'day guys, this is Matt from Australia. We've had a bit of a shit of a time here lately with the weather, but I get a lot of enjoyment out of listening to Dark City Radio.
Right, I didn't know that was going to happen then, but never mind. Hey, it all catches us out. It's live radio. But thanks, Matt, and thanks to Rupert. That should have been a completely different jingle, and it should have lasted 2 minutes. But hey, that's it. Brilliant show from Pax, or Nigel, Pax Monday Show. If you do want to join us, and this is the Darkcity Show, we're carrying on. Middle East, if you've got any questions regarding that, ask Nigel. He's been over there, he's done that, you know what I mean, that's his bag. So, yeah, ring us. And what's the number? Can you hear my brain? That's my brain thinking that when it goes, I worked it out a couple of days ago. The number is 0044 161 298 0298. Or you can Skype Bob's Backyard. And you'll notice when you do, I find that it'll come up as Bob's Backyard, space Dark City. We've had a couple of people and everything. They want to be Bob's Backyard. I've got Skype trolls. I'm really proud. You know, people say to me when you've got people impersonating you've got there. I'm not quite sure where I've got, but I've definitely got people trying to impersonate us, and that's lovely. That's lovely. Hi, so where are we up to? We've got quite a crew in. We've got with us our mate Stevie. We've got Dawn of the Dark City. We've got Sol of Chat. of having chat. Okay. We've got Prajna, and they're of the Orange Auto Hippie Brigade, and they're actually our mobile. And we also may have Sumra. Anyway, I keep calling him Saddam. And Sumra, he was actually journeying over to see Vin James, who does the show on a Sunday before Dom. And it was on last night with Dom on Dom's show, and that was a pretty cool show. If you didn't catch that, check that out on the simulcast. So he was going over there to meet up with some others. As this integrated network that Darkcity has become expands further, but his fan belt went on his car, so he's actually now negotiating, what would you call it, his contract. He's negotiating with his contract with a certain automobile association. I can't think which one it might be, but it's the Automobile Association, commonly known as the AA. So I'm sure they're going to be getting him really swiftly along his way now, as there's a good chance to actually listening to us on his telephone. This is Dark City, and we do appreciate the fact that you're helping him out at the moment in time. At least we hope you've helped by now. We got, and also Callie, you know, the bringer of ends, she's over there with Prajna on there. I don't want to forget that also. Well, I'm not going to mention what will happen. We got Paul who joins us just before the break, and Sarah, Crystal Sarah, and our Robo Hippie. So yeah, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Like I say, call us. I'll keep my eye on the chat as best I can. Nigel's kind of flying the ship from here at the moment. And yeah, that's it. I haven't got anything else to say, I don't think. Have I got anything else to say? No.
I haven't got anything to say. You got anything to say, babe?
No, we've got nothing to say.
Give us a
just have a whole hour of silence.
Well, I've got something to say, actually. I was going to say that we should stop buying products like Coca Cola or Pampers, since I found out that there's something to do with the Israeli state. Because these are the type of corporations or establishments that are doing the damage in the third world. And it would be nice to see these sort of people just have, some sort of boycotting of these products.
Boycott everything.
Yeah, but not everything that's not open source. I can tell a little bit about Coca Cola's practices in India. When Coca Cola first went to India, basically they get the water rights to the aquifers of India. They pump up this water into their bottling plants, and they filter it. They filter out all of the pesticides and other pollutants. And then what's left after that filtration process, the more highly polluted stuff gets dumped back into the water supply. So basically they are drying up India's water supply. They're not paying for the water. They're just basically sucking it out of the ground, turning it into Coca-Cola, and seeing to it that the water the Indians actually have access to is highly toxic. So is there no other reason for that? I mean, if you don't care about your own health, and if you don't mind drinking modified corn syrup, genetically modified corn syrup, then boycott it just to save lives in India.
And Coca-Cola's actually been killing people even more directly than that, because the trade union organisers. As well, I think in Colombia, was it?
I think, yeah.
They've been killing these trade union leaders to stop people from unionizing and getting fair working practices. So there are many reasons actually to boycott Coca-Cola. But I'm serious. Boycott everything that you don't need, and what you do need. Start to be a little discerning about it. So many people will say to you, "You are what you eat," but then they go out and eat the most extraordinary stuff, and wonder why they're sick. We're busy talking about all the disability stuff and all that kind of thing at the moment, and we forget that actually they've been creating all of these disabilities for ages, and largely they've been creating these disabilities by selling us on all kinds of sick, chemical-filled foods. So boycott everything that you can, and what you can't boycott, buy as ethically as you possibly can. That'll change the world just on its own. Yeah,
if we all did that tomorrow, right overnight, the world would be flipped and reversed, and we'd be on a winner.
Yeah, I think we all have a responsibility to try and find out where our stuff comes from. All the stuff that we buy, even if we don't then have the power to boycott it, at least having that awareness, is something, and talk about it. I'm going to talk about something, coltan, for example. This is a mineral which is used in all mobile phones. Everybody's got a mobile phone. No, probably nearly everybody in the world's got one now, and it's in all of them. But all of the coltan in the world comes from one single source, and that is Eastern Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And all of this coltan comes from the Kivu province in eastern Congo, which is controlled by these warlords, by these militias. The same ones that you've probably heard are responsible for rapes and pillaging in the areas that they control. And so all of this material, this coltan, is smuggled out of eastern Congo through Rwanda and Uganda, and then exported. And thereby these militias are paid back and rearmed by the corporations who are actually buying, this material, who are producing the phones, Sony, and all the rest of them. And we've just got to really raise awareness about this, and call for these corporations to be held to account for their actions.
It's interesting that you should mention that. It's Congo with Chris Lumumba being toppled, and then our good old friend, the other dictator who took over, I can't remember his name now. Mobutu Sese Seko, that's it. This seems to be happening all throughout Africa, where there's a democratically elected president comes along, or somebody who is really interested in pushing forward changes for people. They don't stick around too long, some of these things people are aware of, and this is why I brought up the question of apathy, because I know that there was documentaries about Lumumba's fate and how it all ended up, and it's almost as if, it happened 30 years ago and it's not happening anymore type of thing. And I don't know if that's the attitude that things have changed, or is it just basically apathy? People can't be bothered because they're too comfortable. I really don't know.
You've only got to look at Mali at the moment. Mali is a classic example where they want all the gold and oil and so on, and so they just bring their armies in. All they're all mercenary armies, paid for by a whole lot of big banks. They create a whole big shitstorm there, and they tell everybody that they're in there to protect human rights. But of course, what they're really there for is to steal all the minerals that are there. And actually, they want to control. And remember that the neoconservatives said that they want global domination. This is a bunch of Americans who have decided they're going to take over all the world, that they're powerful enough to do it, that there's only one superpower in the world, that's America, and it's theirs, and it means that they can act wherever they like in the world, doing whatever they like, until we bring a stop to it.
Well, don't the USA have a veto on all UN mandates and decisions as well?
Yeah, in the Security Council they do.
They're the only country with a veto, so they are the most powerful, politically powerful country in the world at the moment, as well as militarily powerful.
I think they can only do it because Americans are so fucking dumb. Half the population in America are fundamentalist Christians. They believe that the world was made in 7 days and so on. Well, you need that level of intelligence, but then we've not been all that intelligent because we haven't been paying attention to what's been going on in the world, and this is why all of the suppression is put onto us, so that we're looking at what's happening right here, right now, and don't see all the stuff they're getting up to everywhere.
Let me jump in there, right, because I've got information and news about our American brothers and sisters that you lot might not know about. The ideology that the majority of Americans have done is flawed. This is a perception that's given to us, so we'll think that it's somebody else's problem. It's our problem. It's here. I've got American brothers and sisters who've contacted this station in the last few days, right, and they're right on with us. Right, this is not about countries or creeds or religions or political persuasions. It really isn't. It's about us in our turf, you in yours. We don't have to create a community. We are the community. We're diverse. We're diverse. We come from all sorts of different walks of life, from all sorts of levels. Okay, we haven't got the king or the queen or the really rich elite on Darkcity Radio putting their 10 pence within. But trust me, they're coming. Of course they're coming, because the gates are open to everyone. As long as you agree that the gates are open to everyone, that'll be you stood outside the gate, you see, if you think there's someone not welcome. So yeah, that perception, we have been a bit dumbed down, all of us, I suppose. All of us.
Yep.
No more than others. And there's a lot of, I get it, is people are using what they've got to the best of their ability. And trust me, our American brothers and sisters are waking up just like we are. And they really are. I think it might be more of a swarm effect. I don't want them to lay down their arms within their constitution, written, as far as I see it. You have got the right to defend yourself against someone who's invading your land or the land you're in occupation of, or you have got the right to defend yourself, whoever the tyrant may be. However, that does not jump to thermal nuclear war and threatening somebody else in a far-off land. That is not defending yourself, and the majority of Americans are actually beginning to comprehend that is not defending the United States. That is assaulting another land. It is not the American people. I don't even believe the governments are intelligent enough to work out what I've just spoken. I really don't. So I ain't going to beat on them neither. But it's definitely not the people of America. Far from it. What they believe is their lie within the belief, and in the centre of that is I. That's their issue, not mine, not our choir. Well, like I say, trust me on this. We have got our brothers and sisters of the Dark City out there singing to those choirs. Some use religion, some use domination, some use tyranny and fear, because we're going to get them on every single level. Some call it the truth. Some call it a movement. You just call it whatever you want. We call it Dark City. It's the same thing. And it is happening, definitely, all around the world. Have a look at the numbers we get. The flags. I like to see the flags, me, because you get a different colour. It gets a bit boring amount. And I'm seeing new flags. New flags appear. They don't always stay, but they turn up and they go. It's getting there. That means it's everywhere. So, yeah. Just like to say a word or two for them people in other countries that get the finger pointed at them from time to time. I just want to apologise, because I've done it. I've pointed my finger outside myself and thought it was somebody else's responsibility, that somebody else might come along and make these changes in my life that I'm looking for. And now know that that's preposterous. So I apologise to all them people I've pointed a finger at in the past. I will endeavour not to do it in the future. But we are being coerced every day.
Well, what you've just been talking about, Paul, actually answers one of Saul's questions, which was how do we overcome this apathy or perceived apathy? And we actually are doing that as we speak. More and more people are waking up right around the world every day. This whole thing is growing. And yeah, that's the end of apathy. And it is the mainstream media, by and large, which presents these stereotyped images of different people around the world, and presents the images of Americans as dumb and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I've got many American friends, very bright friends in the States. And so, yeah, I've always been quite reluctant to put that blanket sort of stereotype dumb American label.
We love Rupert, don't we? And he's American, so he makes up for everybody else. Everybody else makes up for. What an ambassador of that country. Nigel?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a few observations about our brothers and sisters in the US, that I think there is actually generally more political debate in the United States over all issues than we have here in the UK. For example, when we had the bailouts, in the US, there was debates in Congress, in the Senate, and on, all media, but going on over 6 or 7 weeks before the bailouts were actually made by Obama. Whereas here in this country, the decisions were made overnight by the Chancellor of the Exchequer and the Prime Minister, and there was no public debate. There is, I've observed, a lot of alternative media, progressive media, with a really good debate on the left or the right. For example, I listen to a community radio station called KPFA, and they have shows such as Against the Grain, Guns and Butter, and Democracy Now!, where, you hear about a lot of these things. We certainly don't read them in The Guardian or hear them on the BBC.
Indeed, yeah.
You try to get in there, Sol?
I was just listening, at the same time, I was just wondering where I've got this belief that nothing exists in words. Everything exists in actions. And I recall before the Iraq invasion, a lot of people were voicing their concerns about the point of the war and how we don't want to go into war. But we all know what happened. We were taken to war, even though we didn't want to go to war. And yet these are people who are supposed to be serving our interests. So I really don't understand what is it that people are aware of what's going on, but they won't do anything about it. Because according to the mainstream media, a lot of people they showed the polls that a lot of people didn't want to go to war, but so that means people are, to a certain extent, aware of what's going on globally. Maybe it's not as aware as some of us, but they are aware of an injustice when it's occurring. But still, these sort of things carry on happening. I mean, it happened again in Libya. Everybody knew that's oil going on there, and still it carried on. There was nothing said by anyone, and it's just sort of like, when will somebody just say enough is enough? These resources can be shared with all. You don't have to go in there and bomb and remove people and put dictatorships that then quieten the indigenous people down and sometimes probably trying to eradicate them. For me, it's time to see some action rather than just saying, "Oh yeah, we're aware of the problem." Do you see what I'm coming from?
Yeah.
I totally agree with action. I totally do, and that's how I've ended up where I am, without any doubt. I can't honestly say whether it works yet, for certain, but I can say that I am unable to stop having some form of action. Whether that action is creative or destructive, that seems to be personal choice. Once you realise, of course, before then you don't have a choice. You're in a demand. Do it their way or get punished. So that's not really a free choice. So yeah, for me, man, I can't help it. I wish I could perhaps not be what they call a man of action, but I've been tempted to hold my breath, and I can't do it. So therefore I have action. It's fundamental. So I don't fear it. To me, not when we did all the Ashton allotment stuff, they thought it was all sensational, you see, and I'm like, sensational? What are you talking about? I just did what was right. They said they'd do it, they didn't do it, so I did do it. What's the problem? I generally didn't get it. I didn't get that people don't actually do things. They do debate it. And debate it and debate it again, and then they debate it some more, and then they analyse the debate for a while, and by the time they've done that, it's too late for anybody to do anything about it. Far too late. So, yeah, action, karma. Action, actually, karma means action, and it's dharma is when your actions, as we say in Manchester, turn to shit. When it all goes tits up. That's dharma. Well, every time that happens in your life, you don't stop breathing, drop down dead. Of course we're action. Of course we're people of action. That's what we do. The way we consume, I think, needs to be looked at. We seem to have moved into a system that is just repeatedly throwing things away. Nothing's made to last. Everything's kind of short term. I mean, if you look at that, the New World Order were perhaps planning to wipe us all out maybe 20 years ago, and everything should have broken by then. But obviously, I'm having a bit of a joke. We have moved into this throwaway society, which is not sustainable. It really isn't sustainable.
There's a reason for it, Bob. The reason is because they have this clever thing called the economy. And the economy depends on interest. Interest depends on growth. And growth depends on consumerism. So this is why you've got all the consumerism, because this whole fictional thing called economy is set up, designed specifically to create consumerism, to create a shortage, to create shortages of all kinds of things, because this is the way that you encourage competition. And when you encourage competition, people are fighting together rather than cooperating. If we were cooperating, we could achieve all kinds of things. As long as we're fighting each other over resources, over these supposedly scarce resources, then first of all, we'll do anything to get hold of the resources we need. And secondly, we're quite happy to fight against each other and compete for them. So this is what's got to change. We can't just change the consumerism, because that's an end result of something. We need to change the thinking that created that consumerism in the first place. And that thinking is this whole economic system based on interest and profit. You don't see interest and profit in nature. In fact, in nature, everything's free. All the food's free. Everything is free. Everything is free anyway. Even now it's free. It's only that some people are controlling it and saying you have to become my slave and you have to accept these tokens and pay with these tokens, which are really just IOUs. And not only that, I'm going to take a slice out of it when you do. This is why we've got all this consumerism and all of this problem. And until we change that thinking, until we see it for what it is, until we see that it's actually designed to destroy this planet and to have us all at war with each other. Once we realize that, then we can say, oh, right, well, that's a stupid system. Let's do something else.
Yeah, and the monetary system altogether. We don't need money to live. We can't eat it. What we need is each other, and to grow food and to build shelters and make clothes. And as Prajna's just said, the earth is abundant with the resources that we need to do those things. We don't need money. And also this competition is an intrinsic part of the economy as it stands today. When we're in competition with each other, we're not in cooperation with each other. And one of the things that people use to sell capitalism as an ideal is that capitalism is essentially creative. But I would actually argue the opposite is that capitalism retards creativeness in people, because when we're in competition with each other, we're not creating together, we're not co-creating together. So
we're in the wrong part of our being when we're competing with each other. All of our energy is coming from the wrong source. There are only two sources. One is called love and the other one is called fear. And this is why they like to keep us in fear. Fear creates things like competition and aggression and wars and all the rest of it. Love, of course, creates cooperation. Children are naturally cooperative with each other. It might not always seem like it, but usually children are well, quote, civilized before we start to really notice them. They're already fighting over toys. They're already fighting over what's me and mine and so on. Before, that's the way they're grown up. That's the way we culture them and we train them.
That's interesting, actually. So, with people, because I speak to a lot of people. I watched a recent documentary. I don't know if anyone's watched it, Unlawful Killing. And many other different documentaries about the alternative story. And I speak to many people, and loads of people go, yeah, definitely something dodgy went on. And then you think, okay, so if this is just like a group of people that I know of, and most of them are not into conspiracy theories or anything like that. It's just normal people who go about their day-to-day jobs and everything else. But they are aware that there's something not right, and something's not right. And I'm starting to wonder: what's sort of stopping them? Is it fear or is it laziness?
Well, I think laziness is probably an aspect of fear anyway.
If you look into laziness, whenever you're feeling lazy about something, have a look and you'll find that you've got this great resistance to it. And the reason you've got this great resistance to it is because there's something wrong about it. You don't feel that it's right to do. It's not in line with your character. That's why the laziness comes there. You know, because we've got all these names for things like laziness, we never look deeper than the name to see, well, what's the source of this feeling that I'm calling laziness? And when you actually do look, you find that it boils down to one or another flavor of fear.
Oh, I know when I used to, I had years of depression and anxiety and these sorts of things. And I was often accused of being lazy because I'd spend days and weeks on end at home not doing anything because I was depressed. But I was actually fearful, is what I was. Fearful of facing the world, fearful of what I might encounter, or maybe even fearful of stirring up my own energy and then having to follow that up. So yeah, I was never actually lazy. I was just accused of being lazy. What I was fearful.
That's a whole other kind of worms, the levels of depression in this country. I heard somebody say that they've been prescribing antidepressants to minors now, they're kids. Is that true?
There have been for ages. Not only antidepressants, they've been giving them speed. Now, speed is banned on the streets, amphetamines. But this is what they're giving to children. First of all, the kids are bored at school because they're trying to teach them stuff that the kids know is wrong because none of it makes sense. How many times have you asked a teacher a question and they've answered by saying, because that's just the way it is? Well, this is an unsatisfactory answer for children. They get very bored very quickly, they daydream and so on, and now there's this lovely book, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. You look that up, you find kids going off into daydreams. Right, they've got ADHD or whatever it is, and we can give them Ritalin. Well, Ritalin is just another form of amphetamine. It's what you give people on the street. Speed, you want them to stay up all night and go nuts, give them speed. So this is what we're giving to our kids. They're diagnosing, what did we hear, as young as 4, a 4-year-old?
I was just about to say, no, this child was 2.5, going on for 3 years old, a toddler, who was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I can't remember what she was initially prescribed, but she ended up on all kinds of medications, and she died at the age of 4. So some charlatan psychiatrist comes along and says, yeah, we can make a profit for the big pharmaceutical companies out of childhood, and basically poisons a toddler, having labelled this toddler as bipolar, for God's sake.
If you want to know about psychiatric medicine in detail, there's a big, thick book called Toxic Psychiatry by a guy, he's a psychiatrist, American psychiatrist called Dr. Peter Breggin. And he goes right back through the history of antipsychotics, explains that they were designed developed in the gulags in order to keep people as a chemical straitjacket, really, and explains all the side effects, which he says these, of course, aren't side effects because most of these you're guaranteed to get, and anything you're guaranteed to get with a drug is surely a main effect of the drug and not a side effect. But that's very fascinating reading, along with some of his other books talking back to Prozac and that kind of thing. It's well worth, if you've got anyone who's on antidepressants, antipsychotics and so on, find out the truth about these drugs. They're designed to addict people and to keep them dependent on the system.
And one of the key things about antidepressants prescribed to adults or children is that some of the so-called side effects, what I will call effects of these drugs, is that they cause suicidal and homicidal thoughts and actions in the taker.
These side effects are actually called paradoxical effects. Paradoxical because they create exactly the problem that the drug was prescribed for in the first place. And one of the problems people have coming off psychiatric drugs is that they get their symptoms back. And in fact, often they get their symptoms back worse than when they started on the drugs. And in medical terms, these are just paradoxical or withdrawal effects of the drugs. But when you think the reason you had a problem in the first place is because there's something going on in your life, or there's something going on in your diet that's creating a problem, and your brain is trying to cope with that. If there is any imbalance, chemical imbalance, and this is something you hear talked about quite a lot, if there's any chemical imbalance, it's because your brain has unbalanced itself to try and deal with this problem. And so if it is true that any of these drugs do address a chemical imbalance, well, what they're doing is that they're working counter to what your brain is naturally trying to do to correct the problem. And so when you take that drug away again, the brain is pushing twice as hard in the direction it was, trying to correct this problem. Now, the only reason that people talk about there being an imbalance in the first place, this goes to a book which American doctors use when they're prescribing drugs. It's called the Physician's Desk Reference. And if you look up lithium in that, you find, first of all, there's a big warning box drawn around the entry on lithium, saying that you need to do blood tests and so on, because otherwise you can get lithium toxicity. And it's saying that what you should tell your patients about lithium is that it's a natural mineral salt, and what it's doing is correcting a chemical imbalance in the brain. Now, although nobody actually knows why lithium has the effect it does, telling your patients this will get them to comply with medication. So they've got a straight up lie in that book designed to make people comply with the medication. And not only that, universally across psychiatry now, if you ask them about psychiatric drugs, they will say that they're correcting a chemical imbalance. It's not true. They've never found a chemical imbalance, and they certainly don't know that these drugs are correcting anything.
Interesting. Talking about medication. Sorry.
No, go on, Saul.
Could there be a link between medication and happiness? Do you think it could be induced then?
A lot of it is. A lot of the people become dependent on these drugs in any case. People will tell you that, or doctors will tell you that they give antipsychotics to schizophrenics in order to stop their hallucinations. But if you speak to a schizophrenic, and ask them about whether the antipsychotic stops their hallucinations, they'll say, "Oh no, it doesn't. It's just that they treat me bad enough whenever I talk about hallucinations. The best thing is just not to mention them anymore." And another scandalous conclusion that was arrived at by the Psychiatric Association was that they did a study on post-mortem study on brains of people who had been diagnosed schizophrenic, and they discovered that actually the size of the brain compared to the cranial capacity was smaller than for normal people. What nobody took into account was that all of these brains that they studied had all been treated with neuroleptic drugs, with antipsychotic drugs. And it was the drugs that had actually shrunk their brains. It wasn't that there was something different about the brain of someone who's schizophrenic and someone who's not schizophrenic. And this is the problem, is that there's a great deal of fraudulent stuff, or at least, putting it best, badly thought out studies and so on that have come to some really outrageous conclusions. That's one example.
All right.
Well, I must say it's very good information, but wow, it was like, stop now, stop. I'm getting depressed. I'm going to need antidepressants to get all of the knowledge of what they're doing. It's like, wow.
You don't need antidepressants. You just need a good dose of Dark City Radio. At its best.
Yeah, well,
You got to use that on one of your jingles, Paul.
say again?
You've got to use that on one of your jingles. You don't need antidepressants. You just need a good dose of Dark City Radio.
Excellent.
I will put some, because we've done a few bits and pieces, and we have got some recordings we've done offline amongst the group, and I will get there as soon as I get a chance to poo. Then I'll get on it straight away. It really is at the moment. It's just freeing up the machines, and we're working towards that. And we can do them quite quick once we've got the machines to do them and the manpower. Talking about machines and manpower, well, we've been on air. I nearly brought this person into the chat room. Mercy Blackburn. Hi, Mercy, if you're out there. I suggest you're not really called Mercy Blackburn. I'll be very surprised if you are. Hi. Hiya. I thought, hi. Would you like to join the show? I noticed you were online. Are you busy? 22F. What about you? I'm on the radio live, www.darkcityradio.com. Mercy Blackburn. Oh, okay. There are so many weirdos out there. I figured I'd better ask first. So what's up with you?
That's an offer you can't refuse.
So, there's so many. So what's up with you? Copy, paste. On the radio, live, www.darkcityradio.com. Mercy Blackburn. Well, I've just got out of a relationship. I was in for like 16 months. I like a woman who can hold down a good long-term relationship. And I've just been going out having some fun again. Hey, do you have any pics or profile anywhere? I just put a new one on my site. Hook up profile. I like it. Profile. I'll add a bit ago. Want to see? Question mark. Bob's Backyard. Dark City Radio. This is the Dark City Radio servers. I cannot take you out. I cannot date you. I am not real. I am a server. Mercy Blackburn. This is my profile picture. http://bit.ly/Yankee Zulu 6 Yankee Alpha November, if anybody's interested. You can see my pics here. You may have to make a profile to see them, but it's totally free. And it only takes a second. Bob's Backyard. No thanks, bot. It's kind of like Facebook of dating sites. And I don't know what that is. And I don't know why they do that. And some other letters. I've met some really cool people from there too. After you do, shoot me your username so I can send you a friend's request too. We can get to know each other a little better. This is a radio station. Come here, Doc. I can't take you out. I can't go to meet you. I am a radio station. I am a server. I am not real. Mercy Blackburn. I'm going to take some photographs right now. So you tell me if you like my hair better like this or in my picture. Or the way I have it now. Bob's Backyard, Dark City Radio. No, I'm a bot. Mercy Brown. Laugh out loud. No, I'm not a bot, silly. Dark City Radio. Bob's Backyard, Dark City Radio. Not you. I'm the bot. I'm a bot. I'm a radio server. I'm not real. I cannot do anything. Mercy Blackburn. Did you make it yet? I'm about to go and get changed really fast. But I'll be right back. Send me your username as soon as you get it, though, so I can send you the invite. I would love to come out and play, but I'm not real. I'm a radio server. Goodbye. thought I would share that with you.
Oh, dear, that's so interesting.
Well, if you like interesting, I rang to Cheltenham and Gloucester today, and I got a letter from my mortgage company, Cheltenham and Gloucester, so I rang them up today, which I recorded with my carer present, Bob Earthwise. Of course, it was a recording message that started the conversation. So I told them that as it was telling me stuff, I told it stuff that. And I didn't speak over the machine. I waited till the machine paused. And I told the machine that I was recording the conversation for my own ends and to do whatever I felt with, whenever I felt like doing it. And the lady answered, and I had a most interesting conversation with her, where we come to a point where she says that she didn't want to hang up on me, so I started talking to her about the weather and the holidays and whether she enjoyed her work, and this went on for ages. So I've got a good 29 minutes I managed to waste of Cheltenham and Gloucester's time today on the telephone. And it was a beautiful phone call. It was a beautiful phone call. And I'm told by Bob, hilarious. I don't know whether it is or not. So I'm going to put these together, my phone calls to Cheltenham and Gloucester over the last few weeks, into a show. And I'll let you listen to them soon. I'm not going to do it yet because I'm waiting for Cheltenham and Gloucester to cancel all the contracts that they have with me because they've been fraudulent. They've actually changed names on documentation and changed the order they're in, and actually changed the entire name in some cases. And they were unlawful at the beginning. I should have never been out. I was given of those drugs you were speaking of, or at least some of them. And while I was under those drugs, I wasn't mentally capable to make decisions. I can freely admit that when you're taking that kind of stuff, you're not. Your head's all over the place. And really, I was exempt at that point. And to be exempt under what's known as the Mental Health Act, this doesn't mean I'm ill and I'm mental. It means I was vulnerable at that time. So it's like you can't start holding me responsibility. And I didn't realise all this until I started to listen to a lot of what was being said on the radio. And I actually rang them up for a completely different to answer a completely different question on how these names had changed. And it was actually the Cheltenham and Gloucester who told me I should have never been sold that policy. They told me. So yeah, I mean, after that I started to record things, it does make for quite funny listening, although I say so myself. So we'll get them there. That's another thing I'll get to you once I've got time. Also today I've been on to the traffic tribunal people. If you've been following the shows, that I was given a parking ticket, and I went and argued my case. It was confusing. I was confused. Well, I am confused. The world we live in confuses me on a daily basis. But the actual laws pertaining to the traffic and the lines and loading here and no loading there and this line you can stay for 5 minutes and that you've got to park on the right hand side of and this you have to park on the left hand side of, and if I was a foreign visitor with a fresh copy of the highway code I'd still be confused. In certain areas it's just ridiculous. And one of the areas, and this is what I argued my case, that it was confusing, and that it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. The actual whole purpose of it all, of all the signs and all the lines, is so the driver knows what they're doing. It's to assist the driver, not confuse them. And to confuse the driver when they're driving down the road would be a dangerous thing to do. It would. We don't want to be doing that. This lady argued all the way through it. She argued with me. She said, no, I'm not accepting that. I won't accept that. Well, about 25 minutes into this thing, she suddenly turned around and said, I'm going to find in your favour. And I went, okay. And she said, but just be quiet. I'm trying to help you now. I said, I don't need any help. I didn't do anything. Nothing ever occurred. And she said, I'm agreeing with you. But I'm only agreeing with you on one point. One point only. really? I said. She says, yes, it's confusing. Now, I've been actually gone in this room. I had recording equipment, and I got my recording equipment out, and I started to record. And they said, oh no, we would prefer if you don't do that. I said, but you have recording equipment, you're recording me. And she said, well, we'll give you a copy. I said, a copy? I said, right, okay then. Well, of course, I've dealt with these people before, and I actually know they are lying, cheating scum. That's what they are. So, not to prejudge them, I said, okay then, I will turn off my recording device. I left my second device, we just lost somebody, I think. I left my second device working. I left it running and recording. So you may say, well, why today when I ring them up and ask them why they haven't sent me the recording? Well, of course I want the recording because I want to prove irrefutably that the law should not be confusing, and I proved that. Okay, this is only a parking ticket tribunal, but that lady was learned, and you know, I am not learned, and I stood my ground, and I was successful. I want to show this as a public record. The reason why I got in touch with them is because she promised to do this and lied. When I actually got back on, they told me I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I can't have a recording, I can only have a transcript. I'm not prepared to listen to me. I'm not prepared to listen to me at all. We're trying to put herself into a position of authority where she's now actually expecting me to write more letters to actually get them to have a look at their evidence they've got already and confirm what I'm saying is the truth. They're not prepared to do that. So I told the lady that I had a second recording device, which I'd recorded, and I would put it in the public forum. And thank you very much. I would put all this call in the public forum. And she agreed. She said, right, okay, you do that. All right, okay, then I will. Thank you. The reason for it is my recording quality isn't good. You can hear what's being said, but it's not that good because it was covert. You couldn't see it. So, and I wanted to get a better quality of recording off them, and because theirs would have been a high quality one, and that would have been much better then for me to put this information forward. My next stage will be now to charge my local authority for my time in actually in bringing this case to court. I'm not being unreasonable. Like £25 a letter. You know, that I've actually written to them, £350 for my video evidence that I produced and had to edit and put into the rental of my laptop for the day, another £25 to be able to display this evidence to the adjudicator, and a levy onto the council of £1,500, which I previously instructed them that I would take out against them, and they agreed to that with me, the council, if I was found, you know, if the penalty charge was found to be false. That's their arrogance, you see. Oh yes, we'll pay it. Not in this case. And also, I will be putting in the charge for £3,800, the total cost so far of constructing Darkcity Radio, because I had to get the information out there somehow. And I think if you're going to go and have a bit of a laugh with these people, because I don't expect them to pay me, I might as well make it ridiculous. Absolutely preposterous. So yeah, there is quite a bit of meat in that we could get our teeth into if we wanted. And I will have a bit of fun with it. But that's what it is. I don't ever expect to get paid off these people. I don't expect them to stop doing. They're still doing it now. And if you are in Ashton-under-Lyne and you've been ticketed outside Barclays Bank in Ashton-under-Lyne, and Tameside Council were unable to show the tribunal that there is any parking restriction ever being enforced or in place there or ever applied for. Did it even have the evidence? No, they have it. So, yeah, go down there, stick to your guns that it's confusing, and you will win your case. And use my case as a precedent. If you contact me, I'll give you the case details. Obviously, they don't want this to. They don't want you to know this. Literally, I won my case on the single grounds was the law is confusing. I hope you get that. I hope you get it.
Yeah. Well done, Paul. I mean, brilliant. And I can't wait to listen to this audio.
Not brilliant. The audio of the case is not brilliant. The audio of me talking to them on the telephone is spot on, but the case audio isn't brilliant. But anyway, I might be able to get a transcript. But I'm sure she's not going to say what she said, and they're not going to put everything on the transcript. I'm certain of that.
They seldom do. And not only that, for court transcripts, they charge an extraordinary amount for it. Now, if you're a barrister or solicitor, you can get them quite cheap. But if you wander into the court and say, I want a copy of the transcript, they charge you per word or something.
Well, that's because they outsource the transcribing of these public records to private companies, private corporations. And so then there's a fee involved, and it's always the end user that picks up the bill.
So yeah, I'm going to have a slack with my counsel. It'll be fun, I think, ringing them up. I should be able to get some funny phone calls out of it. If nothing else. You see, one thing I did point out, and she discounted everything I'd said, everything all the way through it. It was just obstinate almost. But one thing I pointed out was that there was a conflict of interest, and that the counsel hadn't only not presented the evidence, but they actually presented it very biasedly and fraudulently, and that this needed to be reported. So yeah, I've made that clear, very clear, and to my knowledge, they're still issuing tickets. What they've actually done in the area is they've gone, and bear in mind, this is because there's that many lines in this area and that many posts and chevrons on the curb. We've got double yellow lines like halfway on the pavement, and we've got chevrons on the pavement. There's double yellow lines running right across the road in front of you. So you're driving down the road, and there's a set of double yellow lines in the middle of the road. Not going down the middle of the road, running from right to left, from pavement to pavement. So which side of those double yellow lines are you supposed to park on?
That's very confusing, Paul.
It's incredibly confusing. When you actually pull up in your car, you look out of your vehicle to the right in this area, and it says loading area. There's little tiny signs then where you actually are that says no loading. And you're parked in a loading bay. So my argument, or part of the argument, was this is confusing. It was all confusing. The law's confusing, it was confusing to the driver, and they were just waiting, ambushing people that came. And in doing that, there was a conflict of interest. I'm actually paying for these traffic wardens to serve me. I'm paying them to serve me via my poll tax. And there they were. They wouldn't accept that. There's even a conflict of interest. But they fraudulently issued that ticket, knowing that one, there is no regulation in that area, or if there is, they were unable to produce it. It was for Wellington Street, which is a pedestrianised zone some 150 yards away, which is now a pedestrian zone. That's pretty obvious. It's got a barricade so you can't drive into it. Basically they've gone to this area, and bear in mind again, I know I'm repeating this, predominantly because it was confusing. There's too many lines, there's lines where there shouldn't be lines, and it looks like it's not being adopted any longer. So they went and painted more lines. They put more. Lines.
We got ambushed the other day.
Front of back at Lloyd's TSB Bank, not directly in front of it, but across the road from it, in Ashton-under-Lyne. So if you have been ticketed there, all right, then there's a good chance if you get on, they'll have to give you your money back. I'm pretty certain there isn't no regulation ever been placed on that. They've adopted it from other areas, and they can't do that. And she told me that. She did actually tell me that. Mind you, I'm dealing with people who lie. This woman hasn't lied to me, and I've got that on tape. So, yeah, I've no doubt. That's about it. We've run over time. Excuse my waffle on that. It was my little bit of news, and I was trying to fill in a little bit. So that was the Dark City, and we love you loads. Everybody say good night quick together. Go on, see if we can get all the lights on.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night. Hi, it's Rupert. And when I get done with a full day of smoking crack and drinking my own urine, I like to relax by listening to The Dark City, right here on the one and only Internet.